Have you ever shown up to do something incredibly important, only to realize you forgot a crucial piece of paperwork? Now, imagine that happening to you on election day. Yeah, definitely a headache you want to avoid. Shaping the future starts with one fundamental step: ensuring you're legally cleared to cast your ballot. So let's dive right into this explainer and make absolutely sure you have everything you need to cast your vote in New Hampshire without any unexpected surprises. Because New Hampshire's election laws are pretty unique and actually just recently got updated, we've put together a clear 6-part roadmap for you today. We'll cover New Hampshire's unique system, the ACID framework, how to check your status, why verification matters, troubleshooting issues, and finally, updating and registering. It sounds like a really simple question, right? But with some highly significant recent changes to state election laws, the answer might not be as straightforward as you think. Honestly, even if you voted in the exact same town for a decade, you really need to pay attention here because the rules of the game have shifted. Okay, Section 1, New Hampshire's unique system. Let's start by looking at exactly why New Hampshire handles voter registration so differently from almost anywhere else in the country. It all comes down to federal voting laws. See, most states have these automatic motor voter laws. You go to the DMV, you get your license, boom, you're registered to vote. Well, not here. You cannot rely on the DMV to handle this for you. New Hampshire is legally exempt from the National Voter Registration Act. That means there's no magical online portal where you can just click a button and sign up. Establishing your registration here requires proactive, paper-based, manual effort from you. And this is exactly why this matters right now. Under a new law, House Bill 1569, the old safety net is completely gone. In the past, if you showed up to the polls and, say, forgot your birth certificate, you could just sign a sworn affidavit confirming your identity and still cast a regular ballot. Well, scratch that, because that exception has been entirely eliminated. Documentary proof is now strictly required, 0 exceptions. Which brings us right to Section 2, the ACID framework. If affidavits are gone, what exactly do you need to bring with you to prove you belong on that voter checklist? To make this super easy to remember, just think of the acronym ACID. ACID. This represents the 4 strict constitutional requirements every single new registrant has to prove: age, citizenship, identity, and domicile. If you're registering for the first time, you have to satisfy all 4 of these categories with physical documents. Let's break that down really quick. You can use a driver's license or a passport for age and identity. For citizenship, you'll need a U.S. birth certificate, a U.S. passport, or naturalization papers. For domicile, which basically just means where you actually live, a New Hampshire driver's license, your vehicle registration, a signed lease, or even a basic utility bill will do the trick. But here is a massive point to remember. A standard or even a real ID driver's license does not count as proof of U.S. citizenship. You absolutely have to bring your actual passport or birth certificate for that. All right, Section 3, how to check your status. Now that you know what it takes to get on the voter rolls, let's talk about how you can actively verify if you're already on the checklist and good to go. The absolute fastest way to check your status is using the Secretary of State's official online voter information lookup tool. It takes like 2 seconds. Just go to app.sos.nh.gov/voter information. Type in your first name, last name, and date of birth. Boom. Right there, you can see if your status is active, what your registered party affiliation is, and exactly where your polling place is located. But hey, what if you get an error message? Or maybe you just don't have internet access right now. Don't panic. Your local town or city clerk is the ultimate authority on your checklist status. New Hampshire's system is incredibly decentralized, which means your local municipality holds the keys to their voter checklists. If the digital portal isn't working for you, just visit your clerk in person or call the Secretary of State's Elections Division at 603-271-3242. Moving on to Section 4, why verification matters. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, I've voted in the last 3 elections, why do I need to check this? It's a fair question, and it all comes down to routine list maintenance. See, state law actually mandates annual verification programs to keep the voter rolls accurate. If you haven't voted in the past 5 years, your registration gets completely purged from the checklist. Or if you move to a new town, actually, even if you just move to a new ward within the exact same city, your info isn't automatically updated. You have to reprove your identity and your new domicile. And if they mail you a verification notice and you fail to respond, you're removed. This is exactly why checking is so critical, especially if you're an infrequent voter. So what happens if things go wrong? Section 5, troubleshooting issues. Let's see how this translates into real-world action if you check your status and realize something is off. If you look yourself up and find out you have an inactive status, you can't just make a quick phone call to fix it. You have to complete the full registration process all over again. If you changed your address or your name, you've got to submit physical update forms. For a name change, you'll literally need vital records, like a marriage license, to prove it. Also, just a heads up, if New Hampshire gets notified that you registered to vote in another state, you will systematically be removed from the New Hampshire checklist. And this right here is the core of the entire system. The big takeaway: fixing a registration issue requires a paper trail. Because there are no online corrections allowed, every single status update, address change, or new registration demands direct, physical interaction with your local municipal office using paper forms. Which perfectly leads us into Section 6, updating and registering. Let's break down exactly when and how you can submit that paperwork so you can walk into Election Day with total confidence. You basically have 3 distinct timeframes to get your paperwork sorted out. Option 1, you can visit your city or town clerk during standard business hours any week before the election. Option 2, if it's getting down to the wire, you can attend the final mandatory meeting of the supervisors of the checklist. That usually happens roughly 6 to 13 days before the election, so definitely check your town's website for the exact date. And finally, if you miss all of that, New Hampshire does thankfully offer same-day registration right at the polls on Election Day. Now, if you're planning to vote by mail, listen closely. Senate Bill 287 now mandates that you prove your identity just to request an absentee ballot. It's a huge extra step. You have to either mail a physical copy of your photo ID along with the application, present your ID in person to the clerk, or have your signature on the absentee application formally notarized. And what happens if you decide to use same-day registration at the polls, but you pat your pockets and realize you forgot your ACD paperwork? Remember, that old affidavit system we talked about earlier? It's gone. Instead, you'll be issued a provisional ballot. You will literally be photographed, handed an affidavit voter package, and then you have exactly 7 days to track down and submit your missing documents to the Secretary of State. If you miss that strict 7-day window, your vote will be completely thrown out. No exceptions. Now, a quick but absolutely crucial disclaimer before we wrap up. Election laws are constantly shifting. New legislation passes, court rulings happen, things change. So while this explainer covers the current statutes, always consult your local clerk directly or check the official New Hampshire Secretary of State resources for the most up-to-date guidance before you head to the polls. So before you click away and get back to your day, take a quick moment to ask yourself, is your ACID paperwork ready? Do you have your age, citizenship, identity, and domicile documents gathered up? Look, checking your status takes 2 minutes online, but fixing an issue takes physical paperwork and a trip to the clerk's office. Be an informed voter, participate in your local democracy, and please share this explainer with your friends, your family, your neighbors to help spread the awareness. But it really makes you wonder, with election rules constantly evolving like this, what other hidden hurdles might exist in your local civic process?